Hello, everyone, and welcome to our monthly Milk Minutes. As you may know, we conduct Milk Minutes every third Tuesday of every month to discuss a variety of different topics. Before I dive into this month's topic, I want to give a brief overview about what Healthy Start Center for Open Breastfeeding is, as well as our Milk Minutes. Healthy Start Center for Open Breastfeeding is Healthy Start's initiative to increase breastfeeding rates among Black families in Allegheny County. Our Milk Minutes is our community education series, and this is when we discuss a variety of informational topics with different presenters to the entire community. You don't have to be enrolled into the program to be engaged in Milk Minutes. So you can like, subscribe, share, tell a friend, and tell a friend to join us. Today's topic is breastfeeding among holidays. Today we have Ngozi Tibbs as well as Chaunda Cunningham. I will allow you lovely ladies to introduce yourselves.
Hello, beautiful people. My name is Chaunda Cunningham. I'm the Director of Clinical Practice and Home Visiting at Healthy Start. This is my assistant, my little schnookums over here. But within Healthy Start, I oversee our federal home visiting program, as well as our mental health program, Moving Beyond Depression. And I also am 2.5 months postpartum with this little baby right here and currently breastfeeding. So I'm super excited to be a part of this Milk Minute.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Ngozi Tibbs, and I am an infant and early child mental health consultant with the PAKey. And I'm also a board-certified lactation consultant and doula and childbirth educator. And I also am a health and nutrition coach and master sexpert. So I wear a lot of hats, but breastfeeding is my passion because it crosses so many disciplines. It crosses nutrition, also mental health. You know, we know that mothers that struggle with depression, when they're able to successfully breastfeed, that they have more positive outcomes. I'm a mother of 5 and a grandmother of 1 breastfed children. And I remember this time of year and a lot of anxiety that I felt. So I'm excited about having this discussion with you tonight.
Thank you, ladies. I'm so glad that you was able to join me today because I know that you have a lot of background in this topic. So I want to ask you a few questions that I've been hearing recently that a lot of moms are struggling with over the holidays. One being how to prevent engorgement or how to navigate through a hectic schedule being over the holidays.
Yeah, good question. And, you know, it's really important that breastfeeding parents understand that you want to stay away from a lot of the fads and the trends. So there's all these fads out there that if you drink body armor or if you drink Gatorade, and not just any Gatorade, but blue Gatorade, right? That's the word on the street. Well, come a little closer, y'all. I got to tell you the truth. Not true. It's a myth. To make milk, you have to move milk. So if you want to keep your supply stable, it's important that you are breastfeeding, that you are either pumping or hand expressing to keep your milk supply at a nice high level. Around the holidays, when you get busy, make feeding your baby a priority. Of course, you'll have family members that want to hold your baby to give you a little bit of a break, and that is perfectly fine. Depending on the age of your baby, most experts agree that your baby should be fed at least every 3 hours. However, cluster feeding is normal. So you may notice your baby eats a couple of times in that hour, and that's okay too. Often when family members are holding the baby, you might miss those feeding cues because the baby will sleep when they're in someone else's arms, which is not a bad thing. We want babies to be restful, okay? However, we want them to be eating regularly too. So let auntie hold the baby for a little while, but also be watching the clock. And if it's been a couple of hours since your baby has eaten, just say, okay, auntie, thank you so much for holding my little one, but it's time for them to eat so that they can grow. That's important. So it's a myth. It's a serious myth that you drink all these special drinks and you'll make milk. It looks nice on paper, but it's not true. Chaunda, talk to us about these fads.
Oh, girl. I mean, I think as Ngozi mentioned, I'm also a doula as well as a CLC in training, but I'm a mom of two, breastfed my first for a whole year, and then he broke up with me. And the second one right here, we're going strong, but we're doing more of pumping than actual putting baby to breast. And just looking at both the experiences, I was that mom during the holiday. Oh, let me hold the baby. Okay. And my baby went to sleep, and I went in the corner and went to go pump when I could have put the baby to breast. Or I'm trying to finagle covering myself up during the holidays and not able to get comfortable. And my baby was brand new at the time, so I didn't know what to do. And I truly think that was the main reason why I had to supplement so early with my son, because I really he and I didn't have a flow within that first 2 weeks, because everybody was coming over. Everybody was trying to see it. Everybody was trying to hold him. He was our first on both sides of the family. Like, this was a big thing. And I was just like, wow. But it's so unfortunate that you really don't want to put yourself in those circumstances where you are minimizing the opportunity that you have to breastfeed your baby in these certain spaces. Create a space for yourself. You don't have to hide in the corner. You don't have to go in the bathroom. You don't have to do these certain things. You can
That's right, baby.
You need to be in the space where you are comfortable, because that's where your milk is going to actually flow more organically. When you're stressed, that impacts your milk flow and your milk supply, and you can be inconsistent. So I know for myself, I have a timer because I am a busybody. So I have an alarm that says every 3 hours, Sean, you need to pump. Does my baby drink every 3 hours? No, she drinks less than that, but I have additional milk that I've been able to store that I'm able to help make sure that she gets the breast milk that she needs within the bottle. So that definitely helps with preventing engorgement.
Yeah, I think you guys made some good points about having an alarm set for the baby, looking at the different feeding cues, keeping still that priority that, okay, even though it's been 3 hours, let's see, like they haven't ate in a while. So I think those are good points. Chaunda, you mentioned about just the comfort level. So let's talk about that, how I know some moms or even older family members who may have not breastfed or not so educated about breastfeeding. They expect mom to exclude herself into a different room. They don't think that they should still be around everybody. How do you think mom should navigate that, not feeling uncomfortable to breastfeed around her family?
It starts with that. It starts with that person. It starts with that individual that is providing breast milk to that baby. You have to be comfortable where you are. You have to be comfortable in your skin, whether your shirt's lift up and stretch marks are showing and all the extra stuff after just having a baby. Whether you feel like, oh, you have your nipple covers on, and you got to take it out of your bra and expose yourself. You have to be comfortable being able to be alone in that in order to be comfortable being in the settings of that. And start small. Maybe you just start with an intimate friend. Maybe you just finally do it in front of your parents. I remember the first time I breastfed in front of my daddy, he just was like, I'm like, it is what it is. Like, I'm not going, especially this time around, it's out. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just here and I'm gonna continue having conversations, but you have to be comfortable. And I can honestly tell you that I wasn't comfortable the first time around. So really it was being in a space where I communicated to other women and other individual other birthing people that said, hey, you don't have to be scared. I'm like, you right. And I can honestly tell you that a part of the breastfeeding 101 training is talking about making sure that their comfort level is there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah,
breastfeeding is a part of the journey. So I think that's very important to allow someone to feel comfortable in that space. Definitely.
I want to add too, as a new mom, and my firstborn, I'm about to have a 30-year-old, right? My firstborn's almost 30. And I remember talking with folks. I was a part of a breastfeeding group. So we breastfed uncovered all the time. So I was very comfortable with that. But we also had a conversation about going to visit family members that may not be comfortable. How do you do that? So one of the things that they suggested, some of the folks in the group, was breastfeed in front of your partner first and see if you're comfortable, or get a mirror. If you're a single mama, get a mirror, breastfeed in front of your mirror. You can have a shirt that's easy to lift, and you can have a cami underneath so it can cover your stomach, right? So you can be more comfortable. But like Chaunda said, the breastfeeding parent's comfort is key. You know, I used to believe, look, whatever, I'm going to just whip it out. And if y'all got a problem, you got a problem. I've modified my position a little bit. Like Chaunda said, it's up to the mom. It's up to that breastfeeding parent. What are you comfortable with? Some folks are more comfortable saying, I'm going to feed my baby, I'm going to go to a different room. And that's perfectly fine. Some people are more comfortable staying in the room, but maybe having a nursing cover. That's fine too. Other people are like, look, it's just a breast. Y'all gonna be all right. Y'all see Rihanna's breasts all the time. Rihanna used to have her nipples out. Every time this girl was at some award show, there was a nipple showing. You're gonna be fine. I think any of those are okay, but the key is that breastfeeding parent is comfortable. Pick your battles. It may not be worth it arguing with your Uncle Joe about whether your nipple is out or not. You might say, you know what, Uncle Joe, I'm going to go sit over here and feed the baby and I'll talk to you later. Or you might say, I am not here to argue with you. My baby has to eat. So if you're uncomfortable, how about you leave the room, Uncle Joe? It's up to that breastfeeding parent, right? Because they are the key to how her milk is flowing. The baby picks up on that energy. I can't tell you how many times I was out with somebody feeding my baby and they had a problem and I would stiffen up and my baby would start crying. They could sense that energy. So it's just a nipple. Calm down, people. You're going to be all right. I was in church breastfeeding. And part of the blessing of being larger breasted is I didn't have to lift the baby way up here. I just lifted her, pulled my shirt down. You couldn't even tell what she was doing. And some of the men got uncomfortable. And so one of the ladies came over and covered my baby. Well, I uncovered my baby because it was hot and my daughter didn't want to be covered. And one of the things I said to her, I know she was well-meaning, but what I said to her was, Jesus was breastfed. My baby has to eat. If the brethren have a problem, then how about we cover their head? But my baby needs to eat. She backed off, right? Yeah. So, and the way that we help people to get more comfortable with the fact that we got breasts, and that's what they're for, is for us to be able to breastfeed comfortably. If we're all breastfeeding in the corner and in the back room, who's going to know about it? The way that we get more comfortable is by, just like the Nike slogan says, just do it. But at the same time, pick our battles, right? Decide what's most important when you're at a family gathering.
And please don't think that isolating yourself is the only solution as well.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that was a really important piece. Because again, you're not breastfeeding alone. There are many individuals that are doing this with you and have the similar struggles of trying to find a way around it. Got the cracked nipples and trying to have the baby, put the baby to breast, trying to put the haka on one side and breastfeed the baby on the other side. Everybody's going through those struggles, but if you are keeping it all to yourself, it's going to make it a harder journey for you to really be able to be the most authentic and the biggest advocate that you can be for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, and that can be discouraging if everybody's looking at it as if it's a sexual manner instead of like, I'm feeding my baby and this is what has to be done and I have to hide in a corner. I think that's really good just to gear away from this sexualization of the breast.
And like I said, most people in society had no problem seeing Rihanna's nipples every other award show she was on. Okay, so let's calm down. It's just a breast. And if there's a family member that's having a problem with breasts being exposed, then maybe they need to have that conversation at another time. But right now, the baby got to eat.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with sprinkling some education.
Hey, because you never know. Right. I'm very grateful that I was able to breastfeed around certain family members. So my younger nieces, right, my nephews, other family members, they were able to get more comfortable with breastfeeding, even though they were younger. When they got older, they breastfed their babies. I may have been the first person in the family to breastfeed at a family gathering. So I was okay with it. I decided I wasn't going to argue with people. That's not what I was there for. I'm just trying to get a plate. I'm not trying to argue with you. You know what I'm saying? I was very respectful, but I let people know that it is okay. The baby has to eat.
Yeah,
Y'all don't eat in the bathroom, so I'm not feeding this baby in the bathroom. Hello.
I know that's right. So what about the moms that are traveling long distance, maybe more than 6 hours or so? How do they navigate that? Or are they jumping in the back seat? What if they can't jump in the back seat with baby and pull over all the time to breastfeed? Um, or do they roll up a towel and put it under the baby's neck to help? Like, how do they navigate that?
That's a good question. You know, it's important that families, going back to the fads and these trends that are out, that families recognize that when you are feeding your baby, that's a social time. That's a time when you're interacting with your baby. So it's actually a choking hazard to prop a bottle with a blanket under the baby's neck and just give it to the baby, especially when you're driving. That is not safe. So ideally, if you are going on a long trip, if your trip is going to be 6 hours, make it 8. If you can, if somebody else is driving, pull over, feed your baby. It is okay to take time to feed your baby and also take care of yourself. But give yourself extra time to travel. If you are traveling alone, make sure that you have everything packed that you need for your baby. Make sure you are staying in well-lit areas because there's some foolishness happening on the roads with people traveling alone. And make sure that when you pull over to feed your baby, that you are in an area that's very well lit. A gas station somewhere, where there are other people around, but not just on a dark, corner on the side of the road. So take the time to make sure that you feed your baby before you leave. And I want Shauna to really speak to how they were able to, when they went on a long trip to feed the baby. You might be able to get a larger vehicle if you can. If you can rent a vehicle, that might be helpful. But safety is key. So if you are driving, pumping while you are physically driving, is considered to be distracted driving. I know it saves time, but it's also not safe. So if you have to pump, just pull over, pump, and then you can save that milk and then you can keep going. So safety is key for you and your baby, making sure your baby is well fed before you leave and also giving yourself extra time for travel.
Yes, guys, all of those things. So I recently during my maternity leave, we traveled to Texas. We flew to Texas. So left Pittsburgh, flew to Texas. We had to deal with how do I pump and nurse a baby through the airport? How do I get to my destination? We went a 6-hour trip somewhere within Texas. So yeah, traveling during the holidays, trust me, I get it. It's a challenge. The first thing that stood out to me is double check your bags 100%. I put a checklist inside of the top of my freezer bag of everything that I need to have in it. My pump, my cords, my bottles, my flanges, everything. Wanted to make sure everything that I need. My little freezer cooling pack. Make sure I had everything that was needed for my entire pump session. Make sure I had extra flanges and extra bottles if I couldn't stop to clean in between. So again, there are things that you want to make sure that you plan for. Please don't just go, okay, I've never taken a trip and now I'm going to take a 6-hour trip. Please practice taking shorter drives so you know how your baby is in a vehicle. You know how your baby is going to respond in a car seat for longer than 30 minutes to an hour ride. You want to do those type of practicings if you can before you do an extensive ride, so you know what your anxiety level is going to be like, especially if you're the driver. It's very nerve-wracking and distracting if you're by yourself. Luckily, I had my partner, so they were driving the entire time where I was able to go back and forth. So we rented a larger vehicle. I have my 2-year-old son. We got a large vehicle where I was able to get out of this and go in the back seat, make sure that everyone was fine, taken care of. We were able to pull over. And I even brought an extra person with me on the travel. I was like, all right, grandma, come on through. We're a village out here. Come help me. So definitely, if you have the support, please utilize it during this time of travel. Don't feel like you have to do everything by yourself, but if you are someone that has to do it by yourself, just make sure you have that checklist for yourself. It's nothing worse thinking that you have everything you need and then you don't, and then you're stuck and you're feeling anxious and you're feeling down on yourself and you're feeling depressed. We don't want to do that. There are ways to minimize that from happening. And then the next thing that you had mentioned as well is that safety piece. Again, if you know how your child is, you know their feeding cues, you can anticipate when certain things are going to arise. Some babies, thank goodness mine is a baby that loves to sleep in a car. I was that way. She's that way. My son's that way. Everyone, it's great. It's great. Great trip. Okay. Great trip, y'all. So again, make sure you have that practice before you do those long, extensive trips, and that you communicate with your support people who are in the car with you. Make sure that they know, no, we're not speeding there. No, we're not going to get there in 4 hours. Like Ngozi said, we're going to take an extra hour or two to make sure that we get here safely, and that I'm saying and you're saying and everybody in this car is cool.
Yeah, I think that's really important to take those practice trips, because if mom's anxiety is through the roof, it's only going to go to baby. Baby's going to be able to feel it, and it's just going to make the trip drawn out and exhausting. So I think that's a very good point, just to take those practice trips, see how baby navigates in the car. Don't roll the towel up and underneath their neck. I think that's really good. What about when they're there with their family, they're enjoying their time, and they want to have a little rum chata or spiked eggnog, glass of wine? Do they have to pump and dump? What if they're not pumping? Is it okay for them to still breastfeed? Like, how does mom navigate through that?
Very, very good point. You know, the Kardashian sisters endorsed this product that's still on the market, that it's these little dipping strips that you can dip in your breast milk to see what the alcohol content is. Come a little closer, y'all. Don't do it. First of all, it's from the Kardashian sisters. That I tell you right there. Yeah, I am throwing shade. But, you know, I mean, there are all these products that celebrities are endorsing that have no scientific basis at all. And these dipping strips are one of them. We used to tell mothers years ago, you should pump and dump. But that was before we really understood about alcohol content in breast milk. So here's what we know today, that alcohol is not trapped in your breast milk. The way alcohol works in your breast milk is the way it works in your body. So if you are drinking on an empty stomach, you're going to absorb that alcohol a lot quicker. So we want parents to understand this. Yes, you can still have a glass of wine. You can have some beer. You can even have hard liquor. However, you got to watch the amount. Hard liquor, when you are a breastfeeding parent, should be no more than 2 ounces. So if you like Henny, 2 ounces, and then you should stop. Beer, 8, maybe 12, depending on how you feel, and wine is the same. If you have not had anything to drink, which I hope you haven't, for 9 months, your tolerance is going to be significantly lower. Make sure you are eating when you are having something to drink. Try to limit it to 1 or 2 drinks and make sure you are eating. Bread is perfect while you are drinking. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. If you are buzzed, you should not be breastfeeding your baby. Why do you ask? Because the biggest concern is not so much the alcohol content in your milk, but I've worked with mothers that were actually drunk and dropped their baby. So we want parents to be responsible. If you want to go out and have a couple of drinks with the girls, make sure that your baby is with someone who is not inebriated. Make sure you have enough pumped milk or formula for the baby for at least a few feedings. So if you only plan on being out a few hours, have at least 3 or 4 bottles, right? You have enough for a few feedings for your baby. Watch how you're feeling. We all have a different alcohol tolerance level, but if you start getting dizzy and giddy, stop. You know you've probably had enough, right? Now that you're a parent, it's okay to have fun, but you also have to be responsible. I talked to a young lady, I kid you not, several years ago. She called me on New Year's Eve on the floor, y'all. She was on the floor. She said, Miss Ngozi, I'm on the floor. Girl, why are you on the floor? She said, I'm drunk, Miss Ngozi. I said, where is the baby? At home with her dad? Does the baby have some formula or some breast milk? Yes, ma'am. What should I do? Should I pump and dump? I don't think you should feed your baby while you're drunk. That is definitely true. Do you have a designated driver? Yes, ma'am. What I want you to do is get off the floor. Are you with people you trust? Yes, ma'am. All right. She wasn't too drunk. She knew to call me.
Right.
I said, okay, I do not want you in the car with anybody until your buzz is gone. So I want you to eat. I want you to drink some water. Try to pee this stuff out. But when you get home, if you still feel buzzed, I don't want you to feed the baby till your buzz is gone. Now, what if it's been 3 hours and your breasts are full? You can pump that milk and you can either save it or you can pump and dump, whatever you're most comfortable with. But the key is how you're feeling. If you're buzzed and dizzy, I don't want you to feed the baby. She said, yes, ma'am. We talked a couple days later. Everything went well. She called me the next year. I said, you ain't on the floor, are you? No, ma'am. She didn't do it again. But it's common sense now, right? It's not just if you weigh 140, you should have this many drinks. Everybody has a different pain tolerance level. Everybody has a different liver tolerance level. So we don't really subscribe to that pumping and dumping anymore. But we want parents to remember to drink responsibly. If you are drinking, you should not be driving, because if you're buzzed and you get stopped, you could be arrested for drunk driving. Make sure the baby is with someone that you got a few bottles that the baby can be fed and that person is not inebriated. It's okay to have a little bit of stuff in the eggnog. I know I am, right? It is all right, but we want parents to be responsible. It doesn't mean you can't have fun anymore now that you're a mom or now that you're a parent. Have fun, but just do it responsibly.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of Ngozi's examples, it's like going out to drink. We know some folks are staying at home and doing these drinkings as well. So again, please just be responsible in what you're doing. Don't fall into the peer pressure of being able to think you can drink the way that you did before you were pregnant and had a baby. Because not saying, we all know we feel it a little quicker, okay? It is what it is. And please, like, no, listen, I know I did it, but please don't be like, oh, okay, well, let me sip on it. If I don't taste alcohol, I'm going to give it to my baby. No.
Yeah,
okay?
don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yes.
We all tried it. We all wanted to make sure, let me look at it. Look okay. If you have to do all of that and you're second guessing yourself, just don't give it to the baby.
Yeah, I agree.
And I understand that a lot of you are saying, oh, well, my baby is exclusively breastfed and this and that. There's nothing wrong with having an extra side of formula just in case you get into certain sticky situations and you're not an overproducer and you don't have extra milk to be able to give your baby. We're not going to make your baby go hungry, nor do we want you to have to give your baby that milk and then that baby has an extra long sleep. And then they're missing the next feed. And then you're wondering why you're engorged and why you're leaking and then why you're also drunk when you wake up. And then you have all this guilt and shame, and then it falls into more of a depressed state. We don't have to go through all of that. There is so many ways that we can be preventive and have fun. Yes, I did go to brunch. Yes, I did have a mimosa. And yes, I did enjoy it. I did. I enjoyed it. And I made sure I took my little breaks, make sure I was drinking a lot of water, was eating food. Did not have 1 ounce of guilt because I knew I was being safe in the situation that I was in.
That's right.
And as long as you have people around you as well that are supporting you in your breastfeeding experience and your breastfeeding journey and your parenting journey, make sure you're surrounded with good people when you're putting yourself in these situations of, should I try something that could create risk, that could create harm? And that's not just around drinking, but in all situations that you may dive into. I know it's not on the topic, but I know some folks are dabbling in some other things that they're sniffing, puffing, doing all these other kinds of things. Let's just be real about it. Please be safe, please.
That's right. And I would even add to that too, because Chaunda's right on. When we start talking about risk and we're being around family members, we are still in a pandemic. Although we are not seeing as many cases of COVID, we are still in a pandemic, and you might be around family members who may not be showing any symptoms. Please, family, please do not let family kiss your baby on the mouth. Okay? We got to be real careful with that. There are babies who have turned up with herpes because auntie kissed them on the lips, and auntie didn't know that she was having a herpes outbreak. Okay? Like, this is real talk, family. So If people want to hold the baby, tell them use some sanitizer. Please don't be coughing on my baby. If you got younger family members and cousins, little cousins around, if they want to touch the baby, tell them they can touch the baby's feet, not the baby's hands, because the babies put their hands in their mouth, but touch the baby's feet, right? So we're not saying don't gather with your family, but just be really, really careful. And like Chaunda said, you might have some family members that want to be in the back room dabbling. Be real careful with that. Be very, very careful with that, because there are people that are doing things now that maybe they didn't do before they were parents. Now that you're a parent, you got to remember there is this little person who needs you to be all right. So, rethink certain things and be careful and be around people that are about positive parenting. Absolutely.
Thank you, Ngozi, and thank you, Chaunda. I think this was a wonderful conversation. I think that you guys gave some great tips for new moms, even established moms, that it is okay to have a little drink. Just be safe with it. It's okay to take a little longer on that drive to your family's house. It's all about your comfort on if you want to breastfeed while your family's there. I think we did a lot of good topics today. So I thank you guys again. And it was a great conversation. Make sure you guys join in for our Milk Minutes for January. Leave any comments if you want to hear another topic or have any questions. Like, subscribe, share, and we will be here the third Tuesday of January at 6 o'clock. Join us again.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Happy holidays, everybody.